Hey everyone, this is Bobo from the Mari server. I'm here to do a video on egos, aka spirit weapons. Yeah, alright, it's been long overdue. I'm definitely ready to do a video on this topic. Now this is going to be a fairly long video, so I'm going to do my best to summarize it as much as possible. I'm going to be answering pretty much the simple questions like what are spirit weapons, how many types are there, how do you get one, how do you level it, how do you repair it, how do you change it, and most of all, how to get the spirit awakening skill. And I'm gonna show you guys all the different kinds of spirit awakening skills of the egos. So let's get started. Alright, so basically the first question is, what are spirit ego weapons? Spirit ego weapons are basically weapons that have a spirit in them, and over time you level them by feeding them items, gems, and stuff like that just to increase their stats and damage. There are currently 5 different types of ego weapons, and they are basically swords, blunt/axes, wands, cylinders, and bows/crossbows. So mine is currently right now a tower cylinder. You can see that there is a glow on my cylinder, and that is basically the indication that it is a spirit weapon. Now do not get this confused with special upgrade glows, because those are only red and blue. The spirit egos actually start off with very dim white color, and then it starts to gradually increase to yellow, and then more of a greenish color to a bluish color. Currently right now we cannot go past 50, so we're actually capped right now for a bit. But don't worry, it actually takes a really long time to level up your ego. And the reason behind this is that you're going to be spending quite a bit of gold and quite a bit of time to be leveling up your spirit weapon. I'll tell you this right now. Alright, so next I'm going to talk about is how are these weapons better than normal weapons. Now as you can see, my spirit weapon has specific stats on it on the right side that you can level up when you feed it. The stats are strength, int, dex, will, luck, and social. Now these basically aren't stats that are added to your character, but they're added on your weapon in a way to increase the damage. And here is how it's done. For strength, if you level up the strength on your spirit weapon, it's going to increase the minimum and maximum damage of your weapon. Now it's not going to be the same for all types of spirit weapons, because obviously there are things like cylinders. Cylinders don't really focus on minimum and max damage, so what strength does to cylinders is that it increases flame alchemy efficiency. And for wands, it will decrease mana consumption rate. Now that's kind of an interesting thing, right? You can't have that on normal weapons. Well, sort of. On normal weapons, they have these kind of upgrade paths that give you these bonuses, but that's why it's kind of debatable, because for egos, you can keep constantly leveling them until a certain point, to 50 right now. But for normal weapons, you eventually cap out, and then the stats won't get any higher. But reforges and definitely step upgrades make up for that. So that's why it's kind of debatable whether or not egos are better than normal weapons that are upgraded with step 6 and enchants and reforges and all that stuff. Anyway, so the next stat on the list is int. Now int will determine the damage balance of the spirit weapon, and it also increases magic damage for some spirit wands and water alchemy efficiency for spirit cylinders. Dex is used to determine the injury rate of the spirit weapon, and it also increases the casting speed for some spirit wands and wind alchemy efficiency for spirit cylinders. The next one on the list is will, and will pretty much only determines the maximum durability of a spirit weapon. So yes, you can increase the amount of durability that you can have on your spirit weapon. Now the next stat is my most favorite stat, and it is luck. Luck determines the critical rate of the spirit weapon, and in some cases a spirit wand's critical hit damage. It also increases the clay alchemy efficiency for spirit cylinders. This is one of the reasons why I love my cylinder ego, is because there's really no other way I can increase clay alchemy efficiency any higher than using an ego. Last but not least is the social stat. The social stat is going to determine the color glow of the spirit weapon, and is also going to determine the rank of the spirit weapon awakening skill. Now do keep in mind, you actually don't get to use the spirit weapon awakening skill until level 21. In addition to that, the social stat provides chain casting for every 5 social levels until level 21 for specific wands. Now, do keep in mind that the social stat is ranked up regardless of what stat you are ranking. So if you're going to put points into strength, int, dex, will, or luck, it's going to automatically start ranking up social. Alright, so now at this point you're probably wondering, how do I level up all of these stats? Basically, to level up your spirit weapon, you have to feed it with items. The most common item that people tend to feed their spirit weapon are gems. This is why you see them everywhere, all the time, in events and stuff like that. Now the most favored gem is obviously the diamond, because it ranks up every single stat. The stats that the other gems rank up varies depending on what type of ego you have. So I'm pretty much just gonna post a link to the chart for you guys so you know which gem is best for your ego. I'm also gonna post a link to the list of items that you can feed to your gem that help rank up specific stats as well. So yes, you don't really need to use gems to feed your ego. You can literally feed it anything. You can feed it weapons, you can feed it clothes, you can feed it all your junk that you don't want. It's basically a garbage disposal if you think about it. But basically the value of the item will determine how much EXP goes into that specific stat. So obviously if you feed your ego a really expensive item, you're gonna get lots of EXP from it. But do keep in mind that if you feed it an expensive item, it will get full quicker. So it's actually not as efficient for leveling your ego. Because what some people do is that they feed their ego really cheap things, and they get more out of the levels over time because they pretty much can feed it more often than the more expensive items. Now in order to feed your ego, you're actually going to have to starve it by leaving it out while holding it, and you have to actually equip it. You can't put it in your second slot. You can also use it in battle, but it's easier just to leave it out. Over time you'll notice that the stats will go down and your ego will start to get angry and upset, and it's going to be like, I want items, what's wrong with you? Now just do remember that if you do starve your ego, there are many stages of starvation. Now there's obviously the super starved stage where he completely is raging mad, and even if you give him something, they're not going to rank up any stats. Now that's like the time when you leave it out overnight or something. Over time, when you start to feed it a little bit more stuff, it's going to go up a little bit to even a little bit more mad stage, and it'll have a 50% growth efficiency. So if you give it items, it's only going to give you a 50% growth stat efficiency instead of 100%. Once it gets to the unhappy stage, it's going to be 80%, and it's going to slowly increase to 100% growth efficiency. Basically what that means is that when you reach the unhappy stage, when your ego is saying is still unhappy versus mad, it is the best time to feed it all the good stuff, you know. Then you get the most out of your ego feeding. Once you reach the fine stage, the growth efficiency start to drop down to 70%, and then eventually down to 20%. And eventually it'll just be completely happy, and it won't even take any of your items. So at this point, people have different methods. Some people feed it all the way up until it's happy, and then like AFK and leave it to starve again. And then there are some people who just feed it only up until it is unhappy, and once it reaches fine, they wait a bit until it gets unhappy again and feed it at that point. So it's really up to you how you want to level your ego. Another thing about ego feeding is that there are items called regular and fine gem powders. These gem powders are strictly for feeding egos. They're not used for anything else. And basically what they do is they act kind of like a diamond, and they level up stats for your ego, and they don't make your ego as full, so you can actually use a lot of them versus regular gems. Now that you know how egos work, I'm pretty sure the most important question right now is, how do you even get one? Now let's start off with the fact that you actually need to have a 100% prof weapon, and not just any weapon, it's gotta be a weapon that can be egoed. So I'm actually gonna link you guys a list of the weapons that can be egoed, because not all swords or cylinders or wands even can be egoed. In addition to that, you also cannot have the weapon be normal upgrade or special upgrade or even gem upgraded. So this weapon has to be no upgrades on it. If you have enchants on it, it will remove the enchants. So there is really no point to have any enchants on it or even any blessings on it. And the reason why is because there is a specific item that blesses egos. It's pretty much called the Spirit Liqueur of Blessing. Yeah, that's right. You can only get it in the cash shop, and it's for the finest, richest people in the land. Anyways, another thing that you will need to know when you get an ego is you actually need to have it in your main inventory. So if it's in your VIP, if it's in a bag, your buddy Tarlac, it's not gonna know that you want an ego. Another thing that's also really important is that you actually need to keep at least 80% of its original max durability. Now, that's kind of the one that throws everyone off. Try your best not to fail and repair that weapon, because if it's below 80% of its original durability, it will not be accepted as an ego weapon. Now the next thing you want to check off on your list is to get 30 elemental removers. You can get them from Price, Galvin, or even my girl right here, Lassar. But do keep in mind that Lassar actually only sells them one at a time. I don't know why, but yeah. Price and Galvin sell them 5 at a time. Come on, Lassar, get with the times. Last but not least, you're going to need a Spirit Stone for the appropriate weapon type that you're gonna turn into an ego. Now, this is the part that gets kind of complicated. So first you're gonna have to go to see Odin in the main matcha, and then you're gonna have to have your 100% prof weapon ready, equipped, ready to go, and stuff like that. And then you're just gonna talk to him with a private story keyword, and he's gonna be like, yo, nice weapon you got there, I think it should be an ego. Then afterwards, he's just gonna make you go see Tarlac, because Tarlac is the only one that can do it, and Tarlac's gonna be like, yo, I need a book from Ira. So then you have to go to see Ira, get a book from Ira, and then go back to Tarlac. And then Tarlac's gonna be like, go to Edern, because he knows more stuff. So then you go to Edern, and Edern's gonna be like, I have this awesome keyword called Ancient Spirit Fossil, so use that on Gilmore. And so you go to Gilmore, and Gilmore's gonna be like, yeah, I have this pass where you can get this Ancient Spirit Fossil. I don't know why you want it, but if you want it, you gotta pay me 5k. So you pay 5k, get a pass, and he's gonna be like, okay, if you, screw up, you can always get more passes from me, but I don't have too many. Which makes no sense, because he pretty much gives everybody in this server one, so I'm pretty sure he has plenty. So you head over to Bari Dungeon, you go inside, you drop the pass, and you start doing this Bari Dungeon run for a while, just for about 3 floors. You finally get to the 3rd floor, and you see the iron piles. If you want, you can use your maid or butler with high disposition to help gather and get some more fossils out of the piles. But I feel like you're guaranteed at least 1 fossil per pile. And once you're done, just pew pew pew, and then kill the bosses and get out of there. Once you get out of there, pretty much you have to talk to Edern, and Edern's actually going to be the one to refine the Ancient Spirit Fossil. Once he refines it, he's going to give you a random spirit stone, and it might not be the one that you're looking for. You know, if you're looking for a sword female stone, he might end up giving you a sword male one, so you might actually have to do this run a few times. But anyways, he's also going to give you a ancient piece of ancient fossil, and that's basically used for repairing your ego. Once you got your final item, you pretty much go back to see Tarlac and talk to him with the spirit contract keyword, and he's going to ask you which weapon and stone you want to turn into an ego. And also, you're gonna have to name your ego. Yeah, you gotta actually name your ego. Now, there is a quick way to get an ego without having to go through all that process. I mean, you can always get the stone from another player and go straight to Tarlac with the spirit contract keyword and your weapon that's ready and the stone and all the elemental removers. But if you do that, you're actually going to lose out on getting the ancient fossil keyword, ancient spirit fossil keyword, and you'll never ever get that chance to get the pass again. So do keep that in mind. If you actually end up just buying the stone from someone or getting it from a friend, you lose out on getting that keyword. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you guys is to how to repair your ego. Now, if your ego is not repaired, obviously you can't do anything with it. So in order to actually repair your ego, you need to have a 100% prof weapon of that same type of weapon that's egoed. And you need to have a spirit liqueur, and you have to talk to your ego and go to repair. Now, here's the difficult thing, is that to make a spirit liqueur, you need to use it through potion making, and you also need to have that ancient fossil piece that you got from Eden. Another thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some white herbs and elemental removers. Now, this can be very difficult for people who have ego weapons that are kind of hard to come by. So then you have other things like these spirit weapon repair potions and a spirit liqueur of blessing. Now, the spirit liqueur of blessing not only blesses your ego, but it also repairs it. Another thing about the spirit weapon repair potion is that it has a range between 6 to 10 or 1 to 5. Both of these are pretty much only from the cash shop, so if you can't afford to get them from the cash shop, unfortunately the only method you have is that spirit liqueur option and the 100% prof weapon. Now, let's say you don't like your ego and you actually want to change it. If you want to change it to a different type of ego, like completely different from a sword to, let's say, a cylinder, or even a cylinder male to a cylinder female, you will need to go see Doran's. Doran's is going to be the one that completely changes it to a different type transfer. If you want to change it to the same type, like let's say a sword to another type of sword, but the genders are going to be the same, then you will have to see Tarlac or Birchid. If you're transferring with Doran's, you're going to need quite a bit of materials, and they're going to be really expensive. You're going to need 30 elemental removers, 1 spirit liqueur, 5 spirit weapon restoration potions, which you can get from Birchid or Synthesis, 2 tranquil spirit liqueur, which you can also get from Birchid, 1 binding spirit liqueur, which you can actually get from straight from Doran's, and then 1 spirit stone of the one that you wish to transfer to, as well as 1 weapon that is profed at 100% proficiency. If you decide to do a same type transfer with Birchid or Tarlac, all you need is 30 elemental removers, 1 spirit liqueur, 5 spirit weapon restoration potions, and 1 tranquil spirit liqueur. You also need 100% proficiency weapon, and you're pretty much done. Once you're done gathering all the materials for the transfer, pretty much use the keyword spirit weapon transfer on the NPCs and transfer your weapon. Do keep in mind that once you transfer your weapon, you're not going to keep all the levels with it. There will be some levels that are going to be lost. If you don't want them to be lost, you can use a restorative liqueur from the cash shop. Last but not least is the Spirit Awakening skill. Now, the Spirit Awakening skill you can actually start using when you get to social level 21. Once you get to social level 21, you'll have the skill, and then you'll see in your spirit ego a bar when you talk to it. You can also activate the bar by simply clicking on the spirit chat twice, and it'll just pop up once the chat closes. To use the Spirit Awakening skill, you need to have at least 100 energy charged up to use it. Once you get to rank 1, you can have a maximum of 300 energy, which lets you use it for 3 times. But at a lower rank, you might only have enough for 1 charge or even 2. Also, after you use your Spirit Awakening skill, there is a 36-minute cooldown, and during this cooldown, you're not able to charge anything on your energy bar. So before you actually use the Spirit Awakening skill, it's always recommended to charge up the bars as far as possible as you can, so you can use the skills multiple times before you have to wait for the cooldown. There is also an option to turn on and off the skill cam of your ego weapon, and that's basically a little cinematic thing that happens whenever you use your weapon. Sometimes it can be annoying when you're fighting, so I usually have that off, but just for some fun, I'm just going to show you guys how that little cinematic looks like right over here. So I'm going ahead and use it right now. And there it is. That is basically the cinematic for my ego. If you're wondering how to charge up the bar, you actually have to use your ego and fight with it when it's not on a cooldown. And you can also increase the energy bar by feeding / talking to your ego when it's hungry. Alright, big kudos to those that actually stuck with me this far through the video. I know some of you guys are like, oh my god, Bobo, that took forever and a year. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video, and also thank you to those who actually helped me do the Spirit Awakening footages. So I'm actually gonna be right now showing you guys all the different Spirit Awakenings from different egos, all the swords, male and female, blunts, bows, wands, and cylinders. So here it is. Here's a compiled video list of all the Spirit Awakenings. Enjoy, and like always, everyone, stay awesome.